We're going to be showing you tonight a system which consists of two portals that are intended to make your implementation of the metabolic code system a lot more simple for you and a lot more comprehensive for your patient, and also simple for them. And so we're going to walk through the air support system, which is the metabolic codes assessment tool and reporting system and plan of action, as well as the lifestyle guidance portal, which will show you what to do once you've made the assessment and you're looking to make some lifestyle changes with your patient. You'll have some tools in the lifestyle guidance portal to carry those out and put some teeth into the recommendations that you're making through that system. So we're going to start out with Andy and Marta going through the air support system, and then I'll cover the lifestyle guidance portal. And stick around until the end of both portions, as we're going to make a special offer tonight for you to try one or both of these systems. Andy?
All right, thanks everybody for attending tonight. This work really represents 30 years or more of clinical experience, research, and listening to practitioners who struggle with beginning to pull together the complexity of what's involved in integrative and anti-aging and functional medicine. And we always get the question of, where do I start? Where do I begin? How do I look at the information? What's meaningful? Good one, and absolutely valid. Not just for new practitioners, but even for seasoned practitioners. How do I look through the avalanche of information that I can order and evaluate in a single patient? And how do I develop meaning out of that information? How do I develop a plan that makes sense for that patient, that creates change and improves the quality of life as well as the clinical condition of that individual? And so this system then really represents the sum total of all of those questions, all of those concerns and challenges, and it's meant to sort of codify a decision-making process that's reliable, it's predictable, and it produces wellness planning for individual patients that's personalized and ensures positive results. That's no small task. As I said, it takes years to develop something like this. There are two components to the system itself. There is an assessment tool which gathers information and personalizes a wellness plan based on strategic supplementation. And then there's the lifestyle guidance portal. John will talk in detail about the lifestyle guidance portal. That includes nutrition and exercise and the ability to track and manage patients in between office visits. Next slide. So when we look at the first component of the metabolic code environment, it is an assessment report. All of this is contained in the cloud, and so lab results as well as self-report surveys are collected through this side of the system. And all of those data points, and there are literally hundreds of data points, are run through thousands of algorithms. Right now, last count, we had 16 algorithms with 4,000 modifiers. And those decision trees are based on the most recent evidence with respect to condition states, metabolic imbalances, and generates a plan that is specific to the individual. This is an incredibly complex process that entails many, many experts with respect to evaluating the integrity of each of the decision points and creates a personalized path for the patient. It looks at not only the evidence, but the risks that underlie those data points and creates a profile for that individual that states both where they're at today, but also a risk index of where they could be going in the future. Information that is collated and aggregated and then organized into the 5 domains or triads that I know Dr. Laval and I have lectured on for many years now. These triads are based on a systems biology approach where we look at the interrelationships of key measurable markers, and we're able then to evaluate the degree to which any one of these 5 biological domains has become impaired or imbalanced in some substantial way. We then create a risk index across each of these 5 areas and help to organize the information based on most to least imbalance. And this then creates the pathway for the practitioner to zone in on and hone their decision-making with respect to where are the areas that really need attention for this individual patient. Next slide. So here we have an actual lab report. This is the assessment output for the air support system based on those algorithms. And they all start the same way with respect to a background of the 5 domains or areas that we call those triads, and give a descriptor of what's included in the metabolic code program. Again, we look at measurable markers that are objective in terms of biomarkers, lab analyses, as well as self-report. And all of these are meant to drill down into the individuality of the current metabolic profile of the individual patient. And here we can see an actual report. This is a patient who has completed the surveys and blood draws, and we've included her biometric measures. And this then is a sum total of all of those data points that are run through the algorithms and then organized in terms of those 5 domains or triads with respect to the most to least imbalance. And this gives an immediate view of all of the information that's collected on that individual patient, and then a plan in terms of, where we start and what is the most imbalanced. The key to this report then is that it helps both the practitioner and patient develop a common language, a common framework, and a roadmap to where they begin initially with respect to the areas that are most imbalanced, because those are the clinical domains into which we recommend treatment planning begin. And so you can see in this particular individual, the first and second triad are the most imbalanced. I know we've lectured on the details of this, so I won't be going into the science in any detail. What's more important is to recognize that this first page is the sum total of the lab values and the symptom scales. And based on those thousands and thousands of algorithms, we generate a snapshot of where this patient is today and where they're the most imbalanced. Go to the next page. We also begin to look across domains with respect to key metabolic functions that cut across triads. And we begin to segregate out certain domains that begin to reflect maybe a more conventional view of the areas that are most imbalanced. So you can see inflammation, cardiometabolic, cognitive, detox, energy, so on and so forth. In this particular patient, their markers are so extreme that you can see how many of these areas are high risk. So this is a good example of how you could receive a wide variety of lab results and symptom scales and still be confused, because clearly any one of these areas could be important to intervene on. But when we look at the crosstalk between key biological systems, the triad modeling organizes this information and begins to show the domains in which this individual is significantly imbalanced. In this particular case, it's triad 1 and 2 again. Then we go a step further. So it's not necessarily enough to show the sum total imbalances across triads. We also want the report to show the individual results within each of the measured areas. So we then have a component of the report that shows the measured biological markers within each triad with respect to each of the lab analytes. And we show in great detail those markers related to each of the triads. So you can see how this is triad 1 in adrenal, thyroid, pancreas. Here are triad 2 markers with gut, immune, brain. And we give both a numerical representation as well as a pictographic representation so you can see which labs are normal and which labs are abnormal. And once we get beyond the lab report data, we then also show the results of the symptom survey. And more, we realize that it's not enough just to look at lab data, that questionnaires and symptom scales are incredibly valuable to pair together not only where are the lab abnormalities, but how are they generating symptoms. This is called mixed methods research. It is a more complicated, more robust model for how we evaluate data, and our particular platform utilizes a mixed methods framework for evaluating those patients. But here we're breaking out symptoms, which is technically called self-report, from the quantitative lab values, which we just reviewed. So you can see how the symptoms also begin to show which triad is the most imbalanced based on patient self-report. And these two, of course, get a numerical evaluation. And the numbers in the left-hand top really show the degree to which there is an imbalance. Anything typically above 500 is considered severely impaired. In this particular case, this patient has, in the 300 range. So it allows us then to not only look in aggregate at markers, but also begin to break apart qualitative and quantitative. Here's a third layer of data. And this is to say that while within a particular triad or systems biology domain, there are direct markers that reflect this particular triad. So for example, in adrenal, thyroid, pancreas, it would be blood sugar, cortisol levels, thyroid markers. Obviously, all of those are here to one degree or another, but you can also see markers that tend to be assigned to other triads, like homocysteine, which would be triad 3 with cardiopulmonary neurovascular, or estradiol, which of course would be assigned to triad 5, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. We of course recognize that there are a variety of both measured lab values as well as symptoms that will load across a particular triad, and the algorithms take this into account. So a triad 5 abnormality in terms of reproductive hormones may have a lot of meaning with respect to how it reflects on triad 1, for example. So this is what we call stacking, and that is to say it recognizes and creates import in and among the various triads. So this then shows the complete set of measured lab values across all 5 domains that may impact triad 1, for example. And you can see how in the upper right-hand corner, because this person is so imbalanced, this then generates a high-risk profile for this individual. Each of the triads then are shown in this regard. We then go another layer deep. We are very interested in pattern analysis and pattern recognition, again using qualitative and quantitative markers, but then we have a deeper set of information that reflects individual lab abnormalities. And that is to say, if you or your patients are interested in what does it mean when a free T3 level is out of balance, and what are the symptoms that arise as a result, as well as what is the metabolic importance of an abnormality in this regard, we have an entire exposition with respect to PROS and a description of this particular marker. Every single marker that is in the either low normal, high normal, or alert range will have a description. And that is to say, you and certainly some of your patients might want to know exactly what each of these markers mean. And we've obviously spent a lot of time being able to produce a description of each of these markers. Now, obviously, this is a much more almost conventional idea because, yes, each marker is important, but even more importantly, we put these abnormal markers into a context, and we show that there's trend data with respect to how these markers group together. But be that as it may, it's another layer of information that you and your patients can review should you choose to. Now, not every patient is interested in reading this level of detail. Obviously, some eyes will start glazing over, and it's a lot of information. But if you do have patients that are interested in particular markers, all of this information is there because I think many practitioners can appreciate the sort of repetitive pattern that we all feel in our practices, that we often say the same core things over and over and over again. And this is very important because many patients will forget most of what you say in clinic, but now they have a tool that they can return home and review and evaluate and let this information begin to cement in their minds. In addition to that, as we do our lab reporting, there are key markers. So I saw that there was a cortisol panel. So we do include saliva cortisol as a result of the measurement tools. So some of you might be wondering, are there functional markers in here in a sense? And sure there are. I think this is really important because specifically, and many of you know, the way in which I look at stress patterns, the pattern of cortisol production, especially within saliva, is meaningful. And so we include this in our not only report, but also the meaningfulness of the data itself. So you can see that we give an entire treatment of the stress axis in this regard. We really couldn't report on stress without showing this level of detail. We also have a database that's attached to our algorithms with respect to the medications that patients are using. As many of you might know, Dr. Laval has lectured for many, many years on this particular topical category of drug-induced nutrient depletions, and that is to say how medications drain the body of key vitamins and minerals and other cofactors and factors. And so as much as we want to look at the patterns of imbalance, we also want to look to some degree at causes. And this is an immediate reminder to the practitioner of the ways in which a patient might be depleted because of exposure to medications, and then also what to do about it. And then coming to the end of the report, as much as we're looking at imbalances and ranking those imbalances across triad domains, we want to be able to make specific recommendations that support the practitioner and alert the patient with respect to what sort of dietary supplements they could or should be taking. All of this is modifiable from the practitioner side, and the way that each product is identified, you can see a small colored triangle next to any particular supplement. And that is to say that each dietary supplement may have one, two, or more triads that they address and rebalance. So you can see how magnesium glycinate has all 5 triads attached to it, meaning that in fact this is someone who could benefit globally by magnesium, as opposed to just above it, aged garlic, where we've identified triad 3, cardiopulmonary neurovascular, or chaseberry, which is specific to triad 5. So all of this is color-coded for sort of immediate recognition. So all of the reporting is very consistent in terms of colors as well as alerts. And so this is a very easy way for a practitioner to take a look at the sum total list of what to do for this particular patient. Now, of course, we recognize that practitioners have ultimate control about what they choose or don't choose with respect to a plan. And in this particular patient, tried 1 and 2 were the most imbalanced, so you may want to select only products from 1 and 2 that help to support the patient's wellness plan. That is completely up to the practitioner, depending on their skills and decision-making capacity. This is only a suggested list, and it's a complete list. I think most of us look at the length of this report in terms of dietary supplements and would say, well, it's probably too many to go out the gate. And we understand that. So this is really more total reflection of the report output as opposed to the most concise plan. But with respect to this particular patient, you could drill down and focus on 1 or 2 triads with respect to rebalancing their particular metabolic issues. In addition to this, while we're taking a snapshot in time, and while that's important to say, look, this is where you're at today, it's invariable that practitioners may also have underlying questions about, well, where do I go next? And also, well, what do I do if certain things don't resolve? And so we also include a very robust set of algorithmic outputs with respect to what we categorize as practitioner notes. And that is to say, these are prompts for the practitioner so that they understand the process from time 0, which is when the output is produced, to 3 months or 6 months or what have you. And to say, look, we understand that in 30 or 60 days you should see these changes. And if you don't, we make further recommendations for the practitioner. So we give what's called preemptive guidance with respect to ensuring that moving forward there's additional support and recommendations. This is incredibly important, however sort of brief in the context of the whole report, to ensure that the practitioner doesn't feel released in a sense, that this is not just a static snapshot in time, but we also give future guidance. In addition to this, we also understand that in the process of encouraging global health in an individual, not enough to understand where they're at or even to take dietary supplements, that most individuals could consume all of the capsules imaginable and not create change, because we know that the foundations of health are much broader than that. And how we eat, how we move, how we operate in the world, how we manage our stress, how we make decisions, whether or not we adhere to programs, how we sustain healthy behaviors over time are probably even more important with respect to improving one's health. These are the lifestyle issues that have been categorized even in conventional medicine as lifestyle medicine. And so we need a system in place to ensure that patients have access to strategic dietary recommendations, exercise programs, and a way to track patients over time so that the practitioner understands not only where are they today and where will that patient be in 3 or 6 months from now, but what are they doing in between when they're not actually at the practice itself. So we have a second system called the Lifestyle Guidance Portal that manages all of those complex issues. So we have an assessment tool that categorizes the metabolic imbalances and creates a plan in terms of dietary supplements, but we have a partnered system called the Lifestyle Guidance Portal that reflects all of these lifestyle issues that are equally or even more so important for improved outcomes in patients. And so at this point, I'll turn it over to John, who will describe in detail the aspects of the Lifestyle Guidance Portal.
We're going to pause briefly. Hi, this is Marta. Thanks for listening. We're just going to pause briefly for questions for Dr. Heyman regarding the metabolic code assessment portion of the presentation tonight. So if you like, you can raise your hand. I can unmute you. You can type your question in the question box, or we could wait till the end of the presentation. But if anyone has questions right now, we will take them.
Okay, great. And Marta, while you're collecting those questions, I'll just give a quick intermediate introduction to what we'll be doing at the end of the presentation. Andy covered that extremely well in terms of its both comprehensiveness but also in simplicity. And we're going to give a quick introduction to the Lifestyle Guidance Portal, which is going to carry out those recommendations and other recommendations that you might have for the patient over time. But at the end of the presentation, I want to make it clear that we've got a special offer for the practitioner to license one or both of these platforms and try them both for free. So really exciting offer in that respect. Janet, you can turn over the visuals to me anytime you want so that people can kind of see where we're going next. And then, Marta, if you have any questions now, you can maybe take those now if you want to, or we can hold them till the end depending on your preference.
Yes, we've got a question here. The supplements, nutrients, specific to one manufacturer, and actually I can answer that for you right now. They are actually 4 different vendors. We've got Metagenics, Wakanaga, who makes our age-preserved garlic, and Magicare, PHP, Professional Health Products, and then Compounded Nutrients as well. So those are the 4 that we have in the system at the moment. We can take some more questions at the very end.
Okay, great. And I think, is my screen showing now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. I've got the Lifestyle Guidance Portal first screen up. And what I wanted to just cover as a quick segue, because I think that Andy did a really good job of covering what practitioners are confronted with, and the decades of research that went into creating that tool are really meant to take all of the knowledge that you've been studying and acquiring, and maybe you've got decades of your own experience, but most practitioners that I've encountered over the past several years generally have a big question mark on their forehead that says, well, what do I do with all of this to make it actually practical every day with my patients? And that's kind of why we created the portal that we call the Lifestyle Guidance Portal in this presentation. So just like the air support system takes all of this otherwise very complex science and intervention with the patient and reduces it to a very simple, understandable, color-coded report with some forward-looking recommendations for the patient that they can understand, the Lifestyle Guidance Portal is the part B of that Chinese menu, so to speak, where you can answer the question, now what? And you'll notice that if you look back at the report that Andy was showing, one of the recommendations was a weight loss program. And most doctors and practitioners don't necessarily have one of those to just pull off the shelf and hand to somebody, so they're kind of flat-footed. And the same is true with elimination diet. Most of you that are studying functional medicine right now realize that a lot of your patients, regardless of whatever assessment tool you use, can benefit from eliminating inflammatory foods in their diet. And you know that the root cause or the root cause the symptoms that are coming from many root causes can be eliminated by simply changing that diet and that lifestyle, whether it's weight loss, metabolic syndrome, diabetic neuropathy. If you change that, the comorbidities tend to fade away along with that. So the Lifestyle Guidance Portal is the way that you can use a system to easily deploy the content, the guidance, the support that you otherwise would be flat-footed on and not be able to give the patient, or you would overwhelm them in office with all kinds of handouts and verbal instructions. So when you sign up for the Lifestyle Guidance Portal, you've got a platform that's also cloud-based, immediately stocked with about 60 different plans that are already turnkey and ready to go, many of which are completely customizable as well, and they include things like elimination, reintroduction, maintenance plans, and I'm reading some of the ones that are on the screen right now, the gluten-free, paleo, and other diets that you're familiar with that are very effective, and then also weight loss programs with HCG or without, exercise programs from beginner to advanced, and more. So with those in your system, you can also add your own recipes, build your own diets, customize things the way that you would speak them into your patient's mind, so that it's not just one set of protocols that's set a certain way. You can actually make a lot of changes to it and embed all of your own content, marketing, or other human elements to make templates that scale your advice and make it possible for you to treat dozens or even hundreds of people. In fact, we have some practices that are treating thousands of weight loss patients with this system because they can just enroll somebody into a proven set of content, and in just a few seconds that patient is getting a drip of content that includes comprehensive guidelines for every day which can include video, photos, meals, exercises. It's extremely comprehensive, but also very simple to deploy. And the other thing is that what practitioners need, and they need their patients to perceive the need for as well in partnering with them in their lifestyle and their health optimization, is a reporting system where the patient can actually tell the practitioner that they are eating, that they are exercising, that they're keeping track of some kind of a journal, and if they want, they can even private message the practitioner in a HIPAA-compliant way from a computer or a mobile device. So I'm going to jump into a quick demo of just some really high-level features of the system to give you an idea of how this works in real terms. So you have a cloud-based portal which is branded for your practice. Tonight we're talking about the Metabolic Code system, so this logo could be a little bit confusing, but you can have your practice's brand on this portal. It's completely private labeled for you. So whatever your brand and name is, it's all going to be in your name. And you'll be able to log into your account with this system and have access immediately to a library of wellness plan templates that are not only simple to deploy, but consist of a ton of great information for the patient to follow. And I'm going to jump right down to one of the templates that is created by the Metabolic Code team, and it's their 1,500 calorie quick start elimination diet. This is an extremely well-designed, very well thought out set of instructions that lasts for over a month, so you've got plenty of time to keep the patient on track and make sure that they're eliminating everything that could be inflammatory. There are beautiful graphics, there are daily affirmations with instructions, and each day there are meals and meal plans delivered to the patient by email, and also in an account the patient can access on the web, so that they have information that includes not only what is recommended for their daily meals guidance, but also all the resources that underscore that plan, including substitution meals, substitution snacks, all the resources that go along with a plan like that in multiple PDFs, recipes, weekly glance, meal planning, grocery lists, all of that is included. And you can open up any of these things and see them, print them, use them, or also interact with it as a web-based system. So what would otherwise be complex and a binder and a handout and all kinds of information that's kind of hard to consume all at once is now delivered each day to the patient in literally bite-sized pieces, because they can consume this information on their smartphones, their tablets, their computer, and see it laid out in a way that's engaging and very simple to follow for each day. And for the student who wants to read more, and people come in all shapes and sizes when it comes to learning, they can dig into all of the additional information that's included in the navigation items. And what's cool is that every one of the templates that we have in the library has the opportunity to contain up to 10 of those navigation items. So if you look at the the Mediterranean diet, you've got a welcome tab, basic guidelines, shopping lists, things like that. Every plan has comprehensive information for a month, 2 months, sometimes 3 months, and you can deploy these to patients in just seconds. So just to cover how simple that is, if I click on the Patients tab, I can load the list of patients I currently have enrolled, and enrolling a new patient is as simple as clicking on the Enroll New Patient button, typing in an email address. I'm going to change this for 1 second so I make sure I don't double up on the name, which I just did anyway. And once you enroll somebody by email address and their name, the patient will receive an email in a few seconds, and I'm going to choose the elimination diet. That was the 1,500 calorie diet here, and click Submit. And within just a few seconds, the system is going to enroll that person and send them an activation email. So for the practitioner, for you or your staff, once you've got your library picked out and chosen, you basically have about a 15-minute task, or 15-second task to enroll a new person into one of these programs. And right now what you see as this is loading is that all of that content for all 50 days or whatever it might be is being essentially put into that patient's record in a way that allows our system to email them each morning with the content, and it's already ready to go. No further interaction by you is required, although you obviously will interact with that patient anyway, but this undercarriage of support is going to be automatic and continuous throughout the length of that. So what the patient receives is a very simple email telling them that they've got a new account brought to them by you with your brand on it, and asking them to simply click on this link to activate their account. And so once they create a password, they log into an account that is all their own, but under your brand, and which brings them to the exact content that you've selected for them, whether it be an exercise program, a diet, some other lifestyle modification, whether it's hormone replacement support, or even a stress recovery program. Whatever you want to include, you pick what they see, and then they will land on their patient account and see exactly what's been selected for them, and they can begin to follow along immediately. So all of the printing that you would otherwise do, all of the full hour of explaining how the diet's going to work and what the resources will be, it's all here. It's all included. It's all self-explanatory. And so it will offload hours per patient of your staff time to a system that's not giving them short shrift in any way, but rather is giving them a tremendous amount of additional support to carry out the programs that you know they should follow, but in half the time, a tenth of the time maybe. Now, once the patient logs into his or her account, they also have a few extra tools that are not in your provider account. They can track these foods that are here. So if they've got a calorie point or the macronutrients, they can click on the I ate this button and record all of those foods in one click rather than searching for all 7 of those separately. And those will be tracked so that they've got all of the information stored in their food tracker. And they're all stored as separate objects so that if they didn't eat this exactly the way that you prescribed it, they can also delete one of those items. They can double up on things that they ate more of, and all the numbers will change accordingly. And they can even save that meal so that they can eat it that way, digitally in the future in just one click. And they can also add favorites and search for, off recommendation foods. If they happen to find themselves eating things that maybe are not recommended, they can at least still report those to you and stay honest with what they're actually doing every day. There's also an activity tracker, which lets them track and journal their exercise activities. So maybe they're running a 6.5 minute miles pretty quick. So let's change it to something realistic. I think most of us are probably running around a 10-minute mile if we're sticking to it. So let's say they've got their weight and their time spent. They can calculate that and record their calories for any physical activities that they're doing. And then they can also track their body measurements, which you may be doing in clinic, but most patients like to keep track of this visually so they can kind of keep track of where they're at in terms of progress towards a goal. And so they can do that with a nice chart, and for 13 different metrics, see how they're doing with those, and you'll see those in your provider account as well. You're able to upload documents to the patient's account that could contain specific recommendations just for them. Patients can also journal, and if they want to, they can also share that journal with you, although by default the journal entries are private. They can switch that and share that with you in your account. So what happens next is once you've got patients that are interacting with the system, when you log in as the provider and you go to your patient list, you'll be able to see what plan each patient is on and whether or not they're tracking anything that's worth looking at before you see them the next time, or that maybe cause you to reach out to them and say, hey, it looks like you're not using the system or tracking anything. Let's talk about where you're at. I see that you're on, day 7 or day 27 of this particular plan, and I'm looking at the recommendations. It looks like it's a pretty good day for you. How's that going? Are you tracking your food? And while you're talking to them, you can actually see all the data that's being tracked or stored by the patient, and you can, interact with them concerning that data. So all of this creates a feedback loop between you and the patient so that you can actually monitor what's going on with them when they come in. And then if you want, you can also impose on their account a survey consistent with the Metabolic Codes principles, which is kind of a mini version of that for follow-up. So if you've done a full air support assessment and now it's 3 months down the road and you want to do quick follow-up on some of the markers in certain categories, you can do that and get an idea of where they stand and get some recommendations on that as well. So that's a quick overview of the patient functions, and there's a lot more to it that we can show you if you want to try this or do a live demo of it yourself. But I want to just jump real quickly back into the Wellness Plans library system. We have essentially built a content management system that is infinitely customizable and at the same time very simply turnkey. Find the templates right out of the box ready to go for you. But if you want to customize further, you can use the exercise library that we have, which consists of 400 different exercise objects that are all filled with pictures and video of how to do those exercises. You can use any of the hundreds of meals that we have loaded to create these plans, or you can change those meals to your heart's content, including the nutritional values, the pictures, the recipes, or create them from scratch. So you have the ability to create unlimited meals with any pictures you want, any recipes you want, and any macronutrient or calorie information you want. Or if you want to leave that out, you can do that as well. And then you can have unlimited documents, photos, and videos in your account to add to your programs. So what that's done for us as a content facilitator is given us the ability to create plans for you that are ready to go right now, like an 8-week exercise plan that we call the At-Home Fitness Plan, very popular with hundreds of providers right now and thousands of patients, that lays out in detail what to do each day. So on a leg day, you've got your exercises laid out, you've got pictures and video on how to do those exercises, and all of this is already in your portal and ready to go and be deployed literally within minutes of you creating an account. So what we've tried to do is take, as Andy mentioned with Air Support, take a very complex set of content, ideas, and functions and make them, dead simple for you to implement in your practice every day so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And because we've partnered with Metabolic Code to bring you the Lifestyle Guidance Portal, which is built on a platform that has all that content management, we're also able to bring you not only the Metabolic Code diet templates, but also hundreds of monographs that they've put together that you can use to give to patients or use for your own edification. These are all included. So you've got these really nicely done monographs, which are even more detail and more helpful information than what you've seen in the Air Support summaries. And all the resources that go into the Metabolic Code diet are included here in your account so that you can use these with patients in any way that you see fit. Most of the time, we'll recommend that you do this in the context of a fully digital plan that's delivered to them to, carry out the best parts of the system, which is to engage them daily. But you'll also have these as handouts for ad hoc advice as necessary. So all of that is something that we make available to you on an unlimited basis. You can add as many patients to this as you can possibly add. We usually consider a practical limit of about 1,000, but nobody's come anywhere near that. And we have a couple of clinics that have more than one office and have literally thousands of patients using the system. It works very well. What you can do is you can license this for a monthly cost, and it's a reasonable cost that allows you to decide whether or not it's just a strictly value-added proposition for you to have in your practice as another tool that makes your practice that much cooler, that much more comprehensive, or if you want, you can figure out a way to charge a little bit more for your services when you include in what you do for the patient a sense that you're their partner, you're their digital coach, you're their doctor, you're their functional medicine expert, and this system, along with or either with or without the Air Support system, whether it's one or the other or both, you have a system of tools that are engaging them, giving them the perception and the reality that you are truly caring about how they got here, where they're at, and where they're going. And once you do that, I think you can probably charge even a lot more for your services than you are now. All of this is available for a monthly license that is usually $297 a month in the case of the Air Support system, and $199 a month. $199 a month in the case of the Air Support system, and in the case of Lifestyle Guidance Portal, it's normally $297. Because we're bringing this to you as the Metabolic Code system, we wanted to offer this tonight, and especially because we appreciate you coming and listening to all of this information on the tail end of probably the A4M meeting and other trainings that you've done. We want to offer it to you for free. We want you to try it for a full 30 days, get you through the holidays where you can set everything up, kick the tires, play with it as much as you want. We'll give you complete training on this. It's a very short learning curve, and we'll do about a 20-minute tutorial or so on each of these platforms at no cost. It's all included. We'll brand your lifestyle guidance portal from the get-go and train as much of your staff as you want. So in that 30 days, you can do as much as you want with this and use us as much as you want to get started. And then if you decide to keep it, you'll pay $199 a month for air support or $297 a month for lifestyle guidance portal. But with this offer, we're going to actually reduce the lifestyle guidance portal to $249 a month, and air support, although I think I may have screwed up that slide, air support is actually only $99 a month when you bundle it with the lifestyle guidance portal. So the total cost to have both systems is going to come out to $348 a month, even if you want both of those and you want to try those both for free. So we're going to take a few questions in just a moment, but I want to point out that if you want to sign up for both, the quickest path to that is to go to lifestyleguidanceportal.com. You can fill out the enrollment form. It'll ask you if you want to also add the air support, and then we'll have information that you want to get both of those systems. But you can also do it at metaboliccode.com. In both cases, when you go through to the site, you'll find an opportunity where it says something like try it free, like this, and it'll bring you to the enrollment form where you can find the details and get started. And we'll have you set up probably before noon tomorrow. I mean, it's late tonight already, but we'll usually have you set up first thing in the morning, and we'll get you going and start you on the path to using this system immediately. So, Marta, I'm going to turn it back over to you for a moment to see if we have any questions that you want to take from the audience, and then we can let you and Andy wrap it up if you want to.
Sure. Thanks, John. We do have a few questions. One of them I already answered by typing into the chat box, but I'm going to read it and discuss that one more time. How are the labs fed into the system? Right now they are electronically transmitted through HL7 encoding, making them 100% secure as far as HIPAA. We are working with AML diagnostics at the moment, but we are on our path to explore other laboratories as well. But we are fully integrated right now, and we do have information on how to get registered and how to get the lab kits sent to your office. So again, we can send that information to you after you sign up for the 30 days, or if you do want me to send it to you prior, you can go ahead and type your email address in the chat box, and I will send that over to you. Okay, so the next question, how do you recommend an individualized exercise plan without the evaluation of the patient's ability and exam? I'm wondering if you're asking that because you're planning on doing this all remotely. I would say, and I'll let John and Andy speak to this, but I would say most of our practitioners are using the system actually with seeing patients, although you can do that remotely as well. And our exercise programs, as John just described, we have the very, very beginner exercise programs, and after a PAR-Q questionnaire, that would be a great tool to evaluate somebody if you're just doing online assessments remote. So yeah, I don't know if John, you want to mention that.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and I think it's often put upon us to determine whether or not and how much assessment you'll need to get somebody on the right program. We have a couple of programs which are sort of do no harm programs, the first of which is the Basic Walking Plan by the American Heart Association. So if you really don't know what this patient is capable of, and they don't know what they're capable of after your assessment of their markers and their abilities, walking is something everybody does from birth, and it's something the American Heart Association recommends. It's a good starting point. And then we have a True Beginners Exercise Only plan, which we put together with a personal trainer who does assessments. And this is another plan where you really can't go wrong because the patient is going to spend the first 3 to 4 weeks doing nothing but walk, stretch, and maybe do some body weight motions. So if you don't know, that's the place to start. And what will happen, at least anecdotally from our hundreds of practitioners, is that organically the patient will come to you and say, this is too simple for me, I need more than this. And then you can move them up to more of a beginner program and eventually to an at-home intermediate program, and just let them request more help as they need it. So let them drive the bus, essentially, And there are plenty of other resources out there for you to learn how to assess a patient and determine what exercise is appropriate. But once you have that knowledge, which we're assuming most practitioners have or have access to, you'll have a whole suite of choices here that you can use, and you can start with the safest version and work your way up based on patient feedback and capabilities. Andy, I don't know if you have different thoughts on that.
Yeah, we do have a few more. Let's see here, I'm just scrolling because they're kind of building up a little bit. Are the supplements nutrients specific to, oh, we already talked about that. How are the labs fed into the system? We talked about that. And the exercise program. Can we add our own supplement brands to the system? Into the system? No. There is no way to customize your own portal and add your own brands, although you can follow the guidelines that are recommended based on the triads, and you can investigate any of our supplements that are in the system looking for key ingredients, and you can substitute your own supplements. You do not have to use our supplements. You do get a margin of return of 40 to 55% if you do use our supplements, but if you're already set up on your own, that's fine too. We're not constraining you just to our system. We do have a write-in sheet that's available on our website that you can print and write in your own supplements as well.
And Marta, I want to point out that on the Lifestyle Guidance Portal, because it's a content management system which is customizable, you have the opportunity, if you have a typical supplement protocol that you would recommend in case X or case Y or whatever, you can build quite simply a set of tabs and information that would become the ABC supplement protocol or the XYZ supplement protocol, and you can assign that to a patient in this system and describe it any way you want with as much detail as you want. So there's another way to sort of give dosage and other recommendations for a particular type of patient.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility, and you can work around this very easily. So, next question: what is the cash price for the lab tests? AML sets the pricing, and this is from Ray Andrew. Ray, I'm going to copy your email address from the tag list, and I'm going to send you the AML diagnostics PDF with all their information and their contact information. It also delineates our panels, what is contained in both of our silver and gold panels, as well as some of our salivary tests and pricing as well. So that's probably the best way to answer that one. Okay, so now we have, can you manually add labs into the system? No, you cannot. This is all automated, transmitted electronically, and there's no access, and that's why we want to keep the system tight and HIPAA compliant, and right now there is no access to add your own labs. You certainly can run your own panels through your own lab testing company and still evaluate those with a different set of standards, and combine that with the questionnaire if you like. And a lot of practitioners do that. As Dr. Heyman mentioned, we do get a lot from the questionnaire only. Again, that symptom survey is a really great tool, and then you can add the benefit of the labs as well. Okay. Great questions tonight. Is there any way to input or other data? Well, okay, so in the metabolic code assessment, there is no way to input any other data. However, in John's system, the Lifestyle Guidance Portal, and I don't know, John, I don't think you went into the detail, but there are different tabs where you could put in anthropometric measurements, weight, different notes on that patient. So nothing in the assessment tool. The assessment tool is a closed system, but in Lifestyle Guidance Portal, there's a lot of flexibility. Okay. Let's see. Quite a bit of questions. Great. Yeah, the lab fee. Let's see. Okay. Yamilet, I believe, she asked about lab fee, so I'm going to copy your your email address. Okay, here's another question. If you are just starting out in this shift of business, can you make recommendations offline implementing this system in a beginning practice as to a cash-based system or how to integrate this with the insurance-based system? That's a great question, and there's a lot of information in that question, and I think we would love to answer that. There's many ways to do this. So, you know what I'm going to do is, before we're done, I'm going to type, since I have so many questions and so many people requesting information, I am going to type our email address into the box, into the chat box, and I'm going to send this to all, so you can actually email info@metaboliccode.com. I'm sending this to everyone so you can see it. And then you can remind me of your question, or you can remind me of what you're looking for. I think I have a few people already copied, but we have a great response. Very impressive. Okay, somebody asked about a Withings scale. So I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not sure what that is. And I don't know if Dr. Heyman is still on there.
I do, Marta.
Okay.
Yeah, we have on the Lifestyle Guidance Portal, you'll notice that we have an activity tracker and we also have body metrics tracking. Currently, those are manual entry as opposed to passive entry, but we have plans in 2016 to begin integration through our app with Fitbit and other activity trackers, as well as the APIs of scales like Withings and other scales that would transmit your weights and measures through Wi-Fi to an account, which would then be synchronized with your Lifestyle Guidance Portal account. So we don't have it now. It may be months and months away, but we will be integrating that as an additional convenience to tracking those metrics.
Thanks, John. Okay. Yeah, is there an app for patients? John, you want to speak on that? And it is fully compatible with your tablet or iPad or iPod. So.
Yep, it's we've worked very hard over the past several years to build a responsive mobile app that works across every device and every mobile platform. And to do that, we opted to not at first do a native app for each device, so that we could bring the most robust features to life in any mobile device. So we have a very nice mobile application that works on any device by default. So if you log into the site or activate your account from a tablet, an iPhone, an Android, you'll be in our mobile site by default, and that will do everything that your device does, scaled down responsively to your screen size. But because it's a popular concept to have an app, which even though it may have the same exact features, people like an app in some cases instead of the mobile site, we are launching an app called the Body Site app in about 2 weeks. It's just being finished up and being launched to the Apple Store this weekend, and that will enable your patients to go into an actual app to track their food and track other things. So that's something that's coming out and will be expanded upon in the new year. But for now, even without the native app having been launched, the mobile site is deadly. Our patients love it. Our providers love the way that their patients can access that, and so that's all included with your account as well.
I think, oh, here we go. I have another question. Is there a separate fee related to what you discussed tonight? No, the fees that we mentioned tonight, that's it. Basically, you pay the $348 for both systems, 30 days free, and you can enroll as many patients as you want. There is no extra charge per patient.
And Marta, I wanted to just point out as we wrap up that we are we're sort of offering this pricing and this free trial combination tonight as a follow-up to the convention that just took place in Las Vegas. We like to try to incentivize people that have just come out of the learning process, even though it's available to more than just those people, to take advantage of the free trial and the discounted price on both of these portals. We don't have the ability to offer this to hundreds of people at once because obviously the free trial takes a lot of our work to get this set up, from scratch with no cost involved, and yet we do everything that we would do if you were paying for the full account. So in order to offer the free trial on both systems, which involves a whole team of us to pull this together for you, and to discount this from $297 to $249, and then bundle the air support down to $99, which would normally be $199, we can only offer this for a limited time, and I think we agreed that we were only going to do this for the first 20 people to enroll in this pricing. My screen says tonight only. We'll generally let that go through the weekend, but it's not a hard pressure sale to say that we'd like you to be one of those first 20 people because we can only accommodate so much in terms of sign-ups. So if you're interested in doing this, I would encourage you to take advantage of the free price. Take advantage of us before Christmas comes, because I know Marta, like me, is going to be starting to kind of sign off in a few days and get ready for the holiday, and we've got time to set you up over the next few days. So I hope you'll be one of the people that joins us. We've got hundreds of practitioners actively using the site for thousands of patients right now, and we would love to have you join us and use these systems. So that's pretty much all I've got on the Lifestyle Guidance Portal, unless we have any other questions.
Yeah, actually, we had a few more, but I think you just answered the one about the discounted price. Dr. Ray Andrew wanted to be unmuted, so I have unmuted you, Dr. Andrew, if you wanted to ask your question. And, one more thing, actually, before you ask. How long does the discounted price last, meaning 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? So not just how long you can get the discount, but how long will it last?
That's a good question, and actually, because we're kind of giving you that little bit of it sounds like a sales pitch, we'll lock that in. So we're going to make this a lifetime price. So if you commit to it, as long as you're continuously using the system, you'll continue at that price. So that won't go up.
Okay, so Dr. Andrew, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Do you know offhand if AML bills insurance for the labs, or are they all cash?
They do bill PPOs. I know that offhand.
As opposed to not Medicare?
Yeah. When I send you the PDF, it really discusses that in detail. I do not think they will bill Medicare.
Okay. Did I
as far
see
as I know, but I'm not sure. I'm not a lab expert. I want them to speak to that.
That's fine. Did I see a saliva test on there?
You sure did. Yes.
So when I sign up a patient, do I have a bunch of test kits in my office waiting for them, or do they have to get mailed to their house, or what?
Well, there's a couple options. Once you sign up or get established with AML will send you the test kits. So you will have test kits in your office. Alternatively, you can have test kits mailed or actually brought to a patient's home for a mobile phlebotomy unit to come there and take their sample. There's also a place called Any Lab Test Now. They're kind of dispersed throughout the U.S. and they work with AML, and so that's another place the patient can go if you don't have a phlebotomist. But if you have a phlebotomist, you're all set. You just get the kits, fill the tubes, send it off to AML. They process and integrate with us. So.
Okay, what is the time lag from the time of the blood draw and the saliva test to when I can sit down with the patient and review the test results and recommendations?
That varies a little bit, but the most important thing is that the questionnaire be completed before the blood is sent off to AML. That makes the transition very, very streamlined. So if that is in place, then I would say within 5 days AML has the results processed. And then it usually takes us, I'm going to say, 48 hours to process the data. And we also do quality control with the assessments and the reports to make sure everything looks great. So we want to give you a wonderful experience. So with a silver panel, I would say 10 business days. So I would do a follow-up appointment or schedule a follow-up appointment 10 business days after the sample is sent out and the questionnaire is completed. The salivary test, it doesn't take long as as the patient completes it, and sends it in right away.
Yes.
So sometimes if those aren't in sync, that can, we can either process the assessment without the salivary results, and then as soon as they come in, we can reprocess it again. So again, we work very diligently to make sure our practitioners receive their assessment reports for their patients in a timely manner.
Okay, if we choose to stock, if we choose to use your supplements, do we stock them, or do we just have to send the patient to the, I'd like to have things right in the office so they can walk out with them.
Yes, you can stock them. You can go to the website and you can order at wholesale cost. You can order as little as 1 bottle, or I think it goes up to, I don't know, 50 or 100. And they will send it to your practice. You will be able to sell that to the patient at retail. So the other option is the patient's cart does get loaded on the Air Support website with the supplements, and then the patient can order directly. And we do have several practices where the patients are ordering directly.
Okay.
Okay.
And the last thing that comes to mind is, do you have any guess what other offices are charging patients to be involved in this?
No, that's a great question, and I think it depends on how the practice is set up. I really don't have a good example for you. However, if we can talk maybe tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, sure. Rob asked 30 days, no obligation. Absolutely. We are very nice. If you don't like it after 30 days, you don't get charged. You just have to let us know. So that's the answer to that. Dawn says, thank you. Okay. Do you want to, if you can type your email in there, Sarah, that's just the quickest way. Otherwise, I have to go copy and paste, and I'm afraid I'm going to miss something. So it looks like Sarah Williams and Rob says, thank you. Anyone else? I gave you 30 more seconds. I think we're doing well here. I think we've answered everything. All right. All righty. Well, thanks everyone for your time tonight. I'm going to let Janet from A4M close the session in just a moment. If there are no further questions, just know that we're going to contact all of you. And again, you could email us at info@metaboliccode.com, and we will make sure that we follow up with you. And Sarah, I do have your email, so I will be sending you a reply. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. Good night.